Good online teaching, in principle, is fundamentally the same as good face-to-face teaching. However, online teaching does not necessarily mean transferring the exact same teaching approach and curriculum that would be applied in a fully face-to-face teaching situation. For online teaching to be successful, teachers need to adapt their facilitation strategies depending on how they intend to use the online learning environment. So, there is no one answer to what good online teaching looks like. However, there are broader principles that can be applied to assist student learning. In this post, we provide brief details on each of these principles. Principle 1. Easy to follow course design and navigation. Something that can be incredibly frustrating for students is entering their online course for the first time and being confused or not knowing how to get started. Confusion can quickly lead to frustration and unhappy learning. To prevent this, easy-to-follow course design is essential. To achieve this, it would be useful if you use a learning management system, prepare a "Welcome Get Started Here" message in the announcements, share information on the design and navigation of the course, classify and present content in an organized manner. Principle 2. Communicate clear expectations to students. Providing explicit directions for course activities and assessments, as well as letting students know what will be expected of them, could also reduce learners' confusion. This ultimately results in a better course experience for both student and instructor. So it is useful to communicate expectations about assignments, communication protocols, netiquette, exemplars of work, features of the online learning environment. Principle 3. Build a sense of belonging and community. Helping students develop a sense of belonging and community can impact learning in both face-to-face and online courses, but attending to these dimensions in an online course takes intentional planning. When students feel they belong to a class community, they are more likely to be motivated to complete class work, feel safe enough to contribute to discussions, and be open to feedback that can help them improve. Some of strategies to establish a sense of community include to design opportunities for peer-to-peer interaction, use a less formal approach in recorded presentations, create a safe course environment, use a warm tone and personal language, demonstrate empathy and care for students, and survey student interests. Principle 4. Knowing and selecting technologies for teaching. An important aspect of good online teaching is the appropriate integration of technological tools. It is important that your selection of technology is pedagogically grounded. That is, you need to have a reason for using the technology that is related to the student's learning. Technologies selected purely for their novelty value will soon lose their appeal with students. Some of the key areas while selecting appropriate technology are related to the learning task, learning context, learner characteristics, instructional management, and cost-effectiveness. Principle 5. Make online courses accessible. There are two main areas of accessibility for online students. The first one is technical. Online components of the course should be accessible to students, in terms of, for instance, file size, student download speeds, and alternative ways to access information. The second one is related to inclusion. The online course should be accessible for students from diverse backgrounds relating to such areas as culture, disability and socioeconomic status. In order to achieve accessibility of online courses, following tips would help: share the content in multiple platforms, pay attention not to share large size files, create content by considering your students' personal and cultural features, do not produce content that require high level of technological skills to get through. Principle 6. Motivate and engage students. Student motivation and engagement require rich and inclusive interactions. Rich, inclusive interactions among students and between students and materials are unlikely to happen on their own. Central to active learning is a rebalancing of emphasis away from lecture or exposition and towards students working with concepts. Active learning strategies can also increase motivation and student engagement. Student motivation and engagement could be likely to occur when you provide students with a variety of content, encourage your students to ask questions, allow students to share reflections on their learning, support students' ability to explore, edit and create, choose relevant and authentic tasks, encourage student collaboration. Principle 7. Give timely feedback. Feedback is intrinsic to many of the learning activities introduced in the principle of active learning, and a key aspect of formative assessment. It is worth emphasizing the relational aspects of feedback, the particular benefit that staff attention, observations and responses bring to online students, giving their efforts meaning, encouraging them further, and sustaining their relationships. The type of feedbacks that could be employed in online courses include peer feedback, marking rubrics, comparison of staff and student assessments, guided marking activity, automated test feedback. Principle 8. Keep in touch with and respond to students. We all like to receive timely responses when we ask a question, whether it's directed to a colleague, a supervisor, or the cable company. Students are no different. They expect an answer to their queries, and this would make a huge difference for student involvement in online practices. Tips and strategies. There is a misconception that online learners expect 24/7 access to their instructors. If an instructor sets clear response expectations, most students will respect that. An online instructor should be specific about the means to communicate with students. Principle 9. Regularly check content resources and applications. It is through the digital content that teachers reach the students and keep them engaged in online tasks and activities. As the relevant instructional materials are presented to the students through digital mediums, it becomes more important to make sure that the content is alive and available to our students. This is particularly important because online content can move or change, which can lead to disengagement.
Hence, we have to make sure that all the relevant content, resources, activities, files, and so on, as we intend for our students are accessible through the particular prescriptions or addresses provided to them. Principle 10. Create and maintain a strong presence. One way instructors can make their presence known to students. This could include a video introduction or course orientation. Subsequent emails could include regular course updates and announcements summarizing how class members did on a particular assignment or activity. And most students greatly appreciate receiving reminders about due dates of upcoming assignments. Other ways instructors can improve their presence in online courses is to provide prompt and meaningful feedback and to participate in online discussion forums. Now, we have come to the end. You can review this material or go back to course page.